Another lesson in inheritance. My name is Lizelle van Wyk, and I will be your life science facilitator or teacher for the time being. My Twitter handle is @Mrs217V, and I will be uploading some of the videos that we use today. Now we are going to try and use a whiteboard app today that I'm using in my own class, and fingers crossed that it is working. So what I would like you to do is see if you could go to whiteboard.fi, see if you could go to whiteboard.fi, and I will show you what your, you will see the following. If you are in it, you will go to your whiteboard app and you will see oh gosh, it's not working. No worries, we'll figure this out for tomorrow. So it's not working here. So what I'd like you to do is we're going to look at pedigree diagrams, blood groups, sex chromosomes and chromosome-linked diseases, hemophilia, and colorblindness. Oh, there we go. So you'll be seeing this. Please just show me in the chat if you are able to access Whiteboard. So it's Whiteboard, WHITEBOARD.FI, Whiteboard. And see if you can access this. Just show me with a little thumbs up, or if you are able to go to whiteboard.fi, and then my login is /H22. See if you could log in with that. So we're going to try something new. If not, then we will work around it. So what Whiteboard does is it gives you access, and you can just use your finger on your screen of your device, whatever device you use, and you can draw, because sometimes it's quite difficult to draw the Punnett squares or work out something if you don't have access to it. So I'm going to give us 20 more seconds. Just show me with a little thumbs up if you are able to log into this or not. If not, then we'll just move on without it. Oh, thanks, Kyle. So you are able to log in. Well done. So you can use this to work things out throughout. I'm going to keep it up. So you can use Whiteboard. I am, however, just like in Zoom, we can mute you or ask you to leave. Fantastic. So we're going to please use this so it's easy to draw your Punnett squares, or if you have to work something out on this. I'll keep on going back to this. So if you can just minimize it or go to another screen. So let's see. Great. So a genetic lineage or pedigree diagram traces the inheritance or characteristics over many generations. The pedigree diagram in the figure shows inheritance of eye color in humans over 3 generations of a family. So you will have the brown eye color, capital B is dominant, over blue eye color, which is a lowercase b, which is recessive. Remember, the brown eye color is the phenotype, and we know that brown is dominant. That is why it's got a capital B. And the blue eye color has got a lowercase b because it is recessive. So let's see what the question is. You need to work out, by filling out this phenotype, what each person's genotype will be. So we know what their phenotype is. A square that is white is a male with blue eyes. And remember, a lowercase b shows us that something is recessive, and an uppercase or a capital letter shows us that something is dominant. So I'm going to give you a little bit of time, and you can use the whiteboard or you can use a piece of paper and see if you could work out what Runel's genotype will be. We know that she's a female with brown eyes, but see if you could work out what Runel's genotype is. We know her phenotype is female with brown eyes. See if you could use a whiteboard, or you can use a piece of paper, work out what Runel's genotype is. And I'll give you a little hint. It's always good to start with the grandkids. Start on the bottom, and we know that if something is recessive and you need 2 recessive genes, so you are heterozygous recessive, you know that you'll have blue eyes. So start filling in the phenotype of all the individuals, and then start by filling in the the homozygous recessive alleles. Start by filling in the recessive conditions. So the homozygous recessive, which will be the lowercase b's. Start by filling the lowercase b's in for everyone with blue eyes. All right, if you'd like to ask a question, just give us a little wave, give us a wave or the hand raise, and then we will unmute you and you can ask your question. All right, the whiteboard code, if you can't log into Whiteboard, I'll quickly go back to the code. Oh gosh, I think we've lost connection there. Let us just log into the... All right, so I think there's a little bit of a connection drop. I can't access the whiteboard once I show the code, so I think we'll need to work around it. But let's just move on. So what you have to do, I'm sorry about that, all a learning curve for us too. So you have to first fill in the alleles for all the recessive phenotypes. So everyone with blue eyes, you fill it in, and it's easier to work backwards. It's easier to work backwards. I'm really, really sorry, Mpumelelo. We'll work around that, and hopefully by tomorrow I've got that tech glitch sorted out. So you work back, and then once you have everyone with blue eyes, Joshua also has blue eyes, I know they have blue eyes because it tells me that if it's white, the person is homozygous recessive, they've got the blue eyes. So once you have the lowercase letters in, we know for someone to have blue eyes, both parents must be homozygous recessive or heterozygous, and then they've inherited the recessive allele. So we know that since Marlene and Jack and John has blue eyes, the mom Veronica has blue eyes, we know that Peter must be heterozygous. So next up, we fill in all the heterozygous alleles. So we know that Peter, and we know that Gail is, and we know that Sarah is. And the way we know that they are heterozygous is they have a parent that is homozygous recessive. So this parent can only pass down a recessive gene. It can only pass down the recessive allele. So that's how we know that the offspring will be heterozygous. And that leaves us with Runel being either homozygous dominant or heterozygous. So it leaves us with Runel either being heterozygous or homozygous dominant, because her offspring, second generation, so the F2, had blue eyes. All right, so let's look at the genetic diseases that you can inherit. So hemophilia is a genetic disorder resulting in your blood not clotting. It results in blood not clotting, and it is caused by a recessive allele that is carried on the X chromosome. The allele for normal clotting is X with a capital H in superscript, so a tiny little H at the top, and the allele for hemophilia is X with a lowercase h at the top. Remember, if something is recessive, we use lowercase letters, so we know that in order for someone to be to have this disorder, they need both the alleles. So I want you to look at the alleles for normal clotting and the allele for hemophilia. What do you notice about the alleles? What do you notice about the alleles? And I want you to give me the percentage of males with hemophilia in this family. So look at the alleles, and what do you notice about the alleles? And what did we learn in term 1 about chromosomes? So look at those alleles. What does it tell you? And then also tell me, what will the percentage be of males with hemophilia in this family? Well done. So I have one answer here. Well done. It's the female that is the carrier. The female is the carrier, and the mother can pass it down. The female is the carrier, that it's on the X chromosome, so the mother passes it on. Now remember, you need both the alleles to have the disorder. So we can have females here that don't have the disorder, but they are carriers. What is the percentage of males with hemophilia in this family? What is the percentage of males with hemophilia in this family? So count the number of males, look at the number of males with hemophilia and work out the percentage. And remember, we look at the key. Circles are females, squares are males. If it's darker, it means they have hemophilia. If it's light, they don't have hemophilia. But if it's a female, they might be a carrier. So I'm going to wait for an answer. Come on, guys. Well done. Well done. 100%. All the males in this family has hemophilia. Now, when you get this type of question in the exam, exactly like we did with the blue eyes and the brown eyes, the way to tackle this question is to first identify the phenotype. So make a little note on your page if you want to. So write down what the phenotype is, what does it look like, will it present, and then you look at the genotype if asked. So what is the phenotype for individual A? Individual A, so we first determine if it's a male or a female, and then we determine if that person has hemophilia or not. Remember, we have to mention the exact phenotype. So what will individual A be? And I know that there are quite a few of you online, so we're waiting for an answer. If you want to verbally say an answer, you can raise your hand or put a little emoticon in and we will unmute you, or you can just type the answer in the chat. What will the phenotype be? So I'll help you out a little bit. It's a circle, so we know it's a female, and it is not colored in, so we know that this person does not have hemophilia. And then give me the genotype for individual B and the genotype for individual C. Now remember, phenotype is just what does this person look like? So we need to tell, so if it was mice, it is a gray mouse with a long tail. In this case, it is gender and with hemophilia or without. So you can look at your key and it's one of the four. So we see that's a circle. So we only have two options. We have the option of hemophilic female or non-hemophilic female. And because it's a circle and it's not colored in, we know that it is a normal female or non-hemophilic female. So for question number 2, give the phenotype for individual A. The phenotype, we have to use our key. So a good try. Now for genotype. Remember, for genotype, we'll use the alleles. Now, XH with a capital H is a normal presenting person. They do not have the disorder. Hemophilia will have the disorder. Now, in order for a male to have the disorder, they have to have the allele with the disorder, the recessive allele. It's a lowercase h. Remember, anytime there's a lowercase, we know it's recessive. So we're asking for individual B. Individual B, and we look at our key, is a hemophiliac male. So we know from the past that males have XY chromosomes. Well done. So I see someone's typed it in here. For B, we know they are going to be XY, but you need to be very specific of which X. And you need to use the lowercase h. Now, I know it's tricky to type the lowercase h at the top, but you can just type X, lowercase h, uppercase Y, or capital Y. Well done. Well done. So I see someone has done this. Well done. So it's X, lowercase h, Y, because it's a female, it's a male, and males are XY. And for individual C, now individual C, we need to think a little bit about what do we see, what her parents are, so what the parental generation was, what their alleles will be. Remember, individual C's dad is the X with the recessive H. Individual C has got the X with the recessive H father. So what will individual C's genotype be? And keep in mind, she's getting her 1X from her mum and 1X from her dad, because females get an X chromosome from mother, 1 from father. Males get an X and a Y. So in this case, 1X must come from dad, 1X must come from mom. And dad has got the recessive gene. So remember, you need to keep this in mind. Well done. I see it's in P where it's got it right. So for individual C, it is a capital X with the normal allele, no hemophilia, and oh gosh, it didn't copy in, and a capital X with a lowercase h. So it's a capital X with an uppercase h, capital X to show the chromosome with a lowercase h. And this just shows us that this person is a carrier. If she has a husband who is hemophiliac, the offspring will have hemophilia. All right, let's go to the next one. So in humans, we have 46 chromosomes, 23 from the mother and 23 from the father. Of these 46, 44 of them control appearance. It controls what traits you have, it controls what you look like, structure and functioning of the body. These are called autosomes. Autosomes. So this is a very important word to know. Autosomes. That leaves us with the remaining pair. It leaves us with 2 more, and these are called gonosomes. Now, the gonosomes determines if you would be male or female. Autosomes is just appearance, and then gender is in the gonosomes. Now, if we look at this, this is called karyotype. Each species has its own unique number, shape, and size of chromosomes. This is called the karyotype. Now, in this karyotype, you have a female at the top and a male at the bottom. And the way we know this is we look at chromosome pair number 23. And the chromosome pair number 23 is the gonosome. That is the indication if it's a male or a female. Now, we have just assigned X and Y's because it kind of looks like an X and it kind of looks like a Y. It makes it just much easier to do genetic diagrams. So this is the female gonosome and this is the male. So you'll see the second chromosome is much, much shorter in the male. So this is XY and this will be XX. All right, are we still with me? Do you have any questions up to now? So when I lost connection, I lost a plethora of other links, which I will share in the Twitter page. So there was a link to an exam question that was very, very good, and it asked exactly this about autosomes and gonosomes, but that I'll post on the Twitter page for us. No, pick us up and dust off and go on again. So let's see. So most of our body characteristics are carried on the 22 pairs of autosomes. There are a few characteristics carried on the gonosomes only. 2 of these disorders are called blindness and hemophilia. These are disorders that are gender linked. They can, oh, Kyle, you're a little lost. Must I go back? Not a problem. So I'm going to quickly go back. In a private message, if you could just tell me what your big question is. No, I don't mind. We have time because I lost the links to the page when I lost connection. So if you type a question, I will go over it for you again. Shame. Okay, I'll quickly, slowly go over it. So when you inherit your chromosomes, you have 46. And so you get 23 from your mother and 23 from your father. Of these 46, 44 control appearance, what you look like, how tall you'll be, can you taste certain things, will you be able to roll your tongue or not. It codes for appearance and for specific traits. But the two gender-linked chromosomes are called gonosomes. And that will determine your gender, but also some diseases are carried on them. So it can only be passed on from the father, or if it's on the X chromosome, it can only be passed on from the mum. So this is what chromosomes look like, and a representation, and it's called a karyotype. Now, every single living thing will have its own karyotype. Our karyotype looks different to that of a hummingbird or an elephant or an orange. So we are only going to use human karyotypes for our questions. So you'll see that the first 22 pairs look exactly the same. That is because they are autosomes, they just code for traits. But the last pair look a little bit different. We have two big chromosomes, and that is two X chromosomes. So this is an XX, this will be a female. And then we have an X and a Y chromosome. You'll see the Y is much, much shorter than the X chromosome. And this will code for a male. And we're going to look now at specific diseases that are linked to either an X on the gonosome or the Y on the gonosome. Now, as I said, most of our characteristics are carried on the 22 pairs of autosomes, but there are few ones that are carried on the gonosomes only. We're going to look at two disorders. They're not diseases, they are disorders. They are colorblindness and hemophilia. Now, sometimes in class, especially if there are lots of boys present in class, colorblindness is much more prevalent for males than it is for females. And it has happened in my class before that a boy realized that he is colorblind in class. So if you see or don't see something in the next few slides, you do not need to worry about it. It doesn't inhibit your life. It doesn't inhibit choices. You can still drive a car. So for colorblindness, we have these types of genotypes and phenotypes. Now, genes that give you a red-green colorblindness is carried on the X chromosome. So since it's passed on the X chromosome, red-green colorblindness is much more common in men because men only get one X from the mother. They don't get another X from the father. They only get one X. So they only get the one chromosome with an X. And if that chromosome has the recessive gene, that male will be colorblind. Remember, you need, if you have that one gene, you will be colorblind. It's not passed on with men. So your father cannot pass it on to you. It's passed on via the females. So let's look at this genotype. Remember, genotype tells us what the genes look like. So here we have a female. We know it's a female because it's XX. And we know that she's got normal vision because it's a capital B and a capital B. If you are colorblind, it's the recessive gene. It's the recessive trait. So you need two lowercase b's if you're female, But unfortunately, if you're male and you only get one of those chromosomes, then you will be colorblind. Then we have a female that she has normal vision, but this female is a carrier. If she has boys, she might pass it on to them. This is a colorblind female. We know she's colorblind because she's got both versions of the recessive allele. She's got both recessive alleles. She will be colorblind and she will pass it on to her sons. This is a normal male. We know that this male has got normal eyesight because he's got the dominant gene, which is normal eyesight. Unfortunately for this male, he is colorblind because he's got the recessive allele. So what we need to look at first, if it's male or female. We know that two X's will be female, an X and a Y will be male. And we also need to look at the uppercase or lowercase. If it's recessive, it will be lowercase, the alleles. If it's dominant, it will be uppercase or capital letters. So, without ado, please look at these two pictures, and then if you would like to, tell me, what do you see? What numbers do you see in them? And if you can't see numbers, it might just be your screen that is not in good light, or maybe the picture is too small. So don't stress if you can't see something. What are the numbers that you see on your screen? There are two numbers. So this is a red circle with a green number, and this is a green circle with a red number. So what are the two? Well done, Kyle. So you can see the numbers. You are not colorblind. Well done. All right, so yeah, the numbers are 74 and 29. So if you are able to see those numbers, you are not colorblind, you have normal vision. So if you're a male, your genotype will be capital X, capital B with a Y. If you're female, it's very difficult to tell because you might be a carrier. Right, and there's just two more. So if you struggle to see that one, the circle on the left has a 16 in and the circle on the right has a 73 in. So if you can't see those numbers, you might be colorblind, or it might just be your screen that's not in good light, or you might need to just enlarge the picture. But as I said, that's nothing to be worried about or concerned about if you couldn't see the numbers. Now, hemophilia is another chromosomal disorder. It is passed down again from the mother. It is passed down from the mother. And so the exact same as colorblindness, for females, they need to inherit both recessive genes in order for them to have hemophilia. Unfortunately for males, they only need that one recessive allele, that one recessive gene, and they will have hemophilia. Now, hemophilia, the problem with hemophilia is if you cut yourself and you start bleeding, your body has got K factor and things that stop the blood from flowing freely. A blood clot will form slowly and you will stop the bleeding. However, if you have hemophilia, you don't have that clotting factor. Your blood will never clot and you'll keep on bleeding. You will know if you have hemophilia or not. If you cut yourself or you nick yourself and you keep on bleeding, it never forms a scab, then you have hemophilia. But usually it's something that a person finds out very, very quickly. So if you have hemophilia and you do cut yourself, you do need to go to a hospital and they will administer the clotting factor intravenously. Okay, so let's look at the genotypes here. So again, for the female, we have two X's because females inherit two X chromosomes. And Both those H's are capital, so we know that this is the dominant alleles. She does not have hemophilia. This female is a carrier. How do I know this female is a carrier? Look at the alleles. How do I know that she is a carrier? How do I know that she might pass it on to one of her sons or daughters? How do I know that she's a carrier? You just need to type in, what do you see on the alleles? Do you see that there's a capital H and a lowercase h? So she has the recessive allele. She has the recessive allele, so she's a carrier. And this unfortunate male inherited that recessive allele. And you only need that one present in males because there's no other X chromosome to balance it out or to make it heterozygous. This will be a hemophiliac male. And again, I know because when I look at the alleles, that is the recessive allele. So colorblindness and hemophilia are caused by the recessive allele on the X chromosome. So usually when we have a capital H or a capital B, we know that those are the dominant alleles. They are not colorblind, not hemophiliac. Lowercase h, lowercase b will be the recessive alleles. They will have the disorder. So since men only have one X chromosome, they have a much greater risk of inheriting these disorders. Women have a much lower risk because they get those two X chromosomes, one from the father, one from the mother. So if a woman inherits both recessive alleles, it's like eye color, you need both for it to show, then the phenotype will be that they have the disorder. But women need both recessive alleles. It's very, very rare. So this is just a little bit of background information. So in the history, the royal families liked to intermarry. They wanted to keep all the money within the family, and so cousins frequently married each other, or far distant relatives would marry each other. Now, Queen Victoria was a carrier for hemophilia. So here you see Queen Victoria, and because they married their relatives, the problem was that a lot of the royals in the early century had hemophilia. So you see that Queen Victoria was a carrier, and one of her daughters was a carrier. One of her sons had hemophilia, and another of her daughters had hemophilia. And they just passed it down through the generations. So it was a very, very common trait in the early royals that they would either be a carrier for hemophilia, or the males especially had hemophilia. And this is Alexis, and he was a Russian prince, and he had hemophilia, and he's one of the most well-known royals to have had hemophilia. So that was just for interest's sake, to show you how it can be passed down through the family. Now, as you can see, her one son, he inherited that recessive allele, and he had hemophilia, and he passed it to his daughter, who passed it to his son. So yeah, that was just for interest's sake. All right, so if we look at this question over here, again, we have hemophilia, and I want you to look at question 1.6 and 1.7 and see if you could answer them. And you only need to type the letters into the chat. Only type the letters in the chat. So we interpret it by looking first at, is it male or female? What's the phenotype? Do they have hemophilia or don't they have hemophilia? So we first start at the first generation, and then we go to the P1, and then we go to F1. We look at the parents, and then we go to the offspring. And which one of the combinations in the table is correct for both individuals 1 and 5? So we find individual 1, we find individual 5, and this is their offspring. Gosh, this is from an old paper. So if 1 and... Okay, well done. Well done. I see one person has answered. Now keep in mind, if 1 and 5 had offspring, and all your options are female. Now remember, if all your options are female, so 1 is a female without hemophilia. 5 is a male with hemophilia. So 1's genotype would be XX, but she does not have hemophilia. 5's genotype is a male. So there's no option for male, but so anything with a Y you can disregard. Oh, sorry. So the genotype for individual 5 will be with hemophilia. So remember, they need that tiny h. They need that tiny h. So the answer would be B. So we know that 1 is a female without hemophilia. That only gives us A and B as an option. So we know 1 is a female without hemophilia. That only gives us options A and B. So you can ignore C and D. Don't even worry about C and D. And we know that 5 is a male. So because he is a male, he will have the little h. So the answer is A. The answer, oh no, the answer is Y. The answer is Y because why? He's a male. Male needs a Y chromosome and an X. So the genotype for 5, who's a male, is XY. We know that it can't be A because A is for a female, it's XX. So the answer must be Y. So I'm quickly going to slowly go over that. The answer is B. So we start on the left. The phenotype, we know she's a female. We know that it's white, it's not colored in, so it's without hemophilia. So we know it's a female without hemophilia. That only gives us A and B. Don't worry if you change your answer. So you only have A and B. And then we move to the next one, the genotype of individual 5. We know genotype is what will their genes be. That is a dude over there. That is a guy because it tells us it's a male with hemophilia. And for males, we need a Y. So the only genotype that we can choose from these two is B. So your answer is B. Does everyone see how it's B? I'll slowly go over it one more time. And then we need to do question 1.7, and then we can ask questions. So we start with the females. We know 1 is a female. It's a her. It tells us it's a female, and she doesn't have hemophilia. I only have A and B to choose from, so we can ignore C and D. But then I need to look at the genotype, and I know that 5 is a guy. Men have Y chromosomes. It only leaves me with B. And then what is the percentage chance that individuals 3 in 4 would have a child with hemophilia? What is the chance, the odd chance, that 3 in 4 will have an offspring, a child with hemophilia? Now we see that this is a female with hemophilia, this is a male with hemophilia, so they both have the recessive alleles. What's the odds that their kid is going to have hemophilia? So I see one answer, which is the correct answer. But remember, you need to give me the letter. So you might have the right answer there, but you need to write the letter down. The letter is A. The answer is 100%. If the female and the male, and they both have it, then we know that the offspring will have hemophilia, which is quite unfortunate. Just before we turn the mics on for questions, there is, however, hope. So you can do genetic testing. The biotechnology is absolutely phenomenal, and we'll learn a little bit more about this tomorrow. So you can do genetic testing, and I've known people who've done it, and you sequence your DNA, and they can see exactly where the mistake is. And then you can screen embryos, and you can see if the embryos have the disease or not. Either in utero or if you do IVF before implantation. So there is hope for people with diseases and rare diseases if both parents are carriers or have the disease. All right. Do we have any questions for today? Any questions? I am more than happy to go back or answer things for you. If you have questions, please ask. You've all been unmuted, and there's a few of you, so you can ask.
Okay. When I mute you, when I unmute you.
Hi, Mpumelelo. Any questions? Any questions? Hi, do you want to ask a question? No questions. All right, I will go practice switching between screens so that we can switch to the whiteboard easily. It is really, really cool because no one else can see your whiteboard. I can see everyone else's whiteboard on my phone, but you only see your own whiteboard. So it's easy to draw things if you have to draw Punnett squares. And then we'll also do a Kahoot. So if you log in tomorrow, we'll do a Kahoot just to revise everything we've done in inheritance. And I thought of keeping tabs of who does how in the Kahoot so that we can have a king or queen of life science. And then we will look at mutations tomorrow. We will look at biotechnology. We'll look at engineering. And we will look at what the future is of genetic modified food, of engineering, and a little bit of the ethical aspects of it. So if you have any questions, please log in tomorrow. I love talking about this aspect of genetics, and I can answer your questions for you. All right. Thank you very much for being such wonderful students. I don't think I would have had the resilience when I was a matric to do this. You are really examples to everyone. Thank you very much, guys. You are welcome to join that Twitter page. I'm going to quickly zoom back to it, if I can. Nope. And then if you go to that Twitter page, sorry for this, it's like watching something rewind. There we go. I will upload all the videos. Unfortunately, we can't play third-party videos in recordings because it's plagiarism. But there are really, really good videos by the Niba sisters that I will upload into it. And hopefully it helps you. All right. Have a fantastic evening, guys, and keep safe.